Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repair, and today I want to shed some light on what I think is a very underappreciated and underrated guitar. This is a 1980s Goya Studio 63, and I think this brand is really overlooked, and I think they are incredible guitars. Let's take a look. Alright, so I picked this one up locally, and over the years I found lots of Goyas. I think they're pretty popular in Canada. I think they were distributed here a lot. So I've played quite a few of these over the years, and usually they're great. So yeah, let's have a look here. Before we get into the specifics of this guitar, I just want to talk about Goya for a second. So Goya was a company originally based out of Sweden. They were originally called Levin Guitars. They changed their name to Goya in the 50s to distribute to the US. The company changed hands a few times, but ultimately was bought by C.F. Martin in 1974. And Martin made these guitars in 3 different locations: Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. So from 1974 till 1976, they were distributing these guitars. And the ones you're looking for are the Japanese-made Goyas, because they are fantastic guitars. Greco was another brand. These were both made in the Fujijin Gaki plant, and Greco was actually distributed by Goya in the 70s and 80s. So they were made in the same plant, so they're very, very similar guitars, probably clones of Grecos. And Grecos are known for being, super high quality, fetching crazy high prices. I don't think Goya has achieved that level of fame or notoriety yet, but essentially they're the same guitars made in the same factory at the same time. And every Japanese Goya that I've tried over the years has been amazing. So if you can track down a 70s or 80s Japanese-made Goya guitar, you will not be disappointed. Alright, so this guitar in particular is called a Goya Studio 63. And this is a Japanese-made instrument. This model is really hard to find any information about. I actually managed to find this exact guitar on Reverb that was listed about 9 years ago, but there was not a lot of description about it or information. And the only way I could kind of match it to that guitar was this little black spot in the back, which I'll show you in a second. So I haven't really been able to find another example of this model anywhere, so I'm assuming it's pretty rare. It's got this like wine red semi-gloss finish, which is very good looking. The wood appears to be ash. It's got the same kind of a grain pattern as like a natural Strat. It's got some ringiness on the side too, which really makes me think it is ash. And it's got a 3-way pickup selector. It's got a coil split, 1 volume, 1 tone. I'm not sure what kind of pickups these are, but they do look like DiMarzio double cream pickups. I know that DiMarzio was used in a few other models that I was able to find, like the Studio 67 that I found a copy of online, so I'm assuming these will be original parts. It's got a tremolo style bridge. It's got a lacquered maple fingerboard. The frets are a little bit worn. It's got a bone nut, a 70s style truss rod, Fender 70s style truss rod. And let's have a look at the back here. It didn't come with a whammy bar, so I'm going to have to go through my parts and see if I got anything that'll fit on it. It looks like it's a 3-piece body. It's got a Made in Japan on the neck plate. And it appears to be a 1-piece maple neck. It does have some additional pieces on the headstock for the wings there, very similar to like a Gibson. And it looks like this guitar at one point was sold by Grandin Music Center in St. Albert. And it's got the older style hex tuners on here. And yeah, I got this guitar for a great price just because I don't think these Goyas are very well known, so you can still pick them up for really nice prices sometimes. And it had a decent setup right when I picked it up, and all the electronics work. So let's go ahead and get it on the bench and take a look at all the individual parts and specs. It's got a very nice weight for a Strat, so just over 7 pounds, 7 pounds, 4.1 ounces, or 3.29 kilograms. All right, let's see what our pickups are reading. Like I said, I assume these are DiMarzios because they've got the Allen key slugs that you can adjust, and they're double cream, which was patented by DiMarzio. But we'll see once we take this thing apart. They could be clones. So in the bridge position, it's reading a 12.08 for the bridge humbucker, and the neck position on 11.26, and in the middle a 5.87. Let's check the coil split, see what it does to the reading. Yeah, and that does split it. So in the bridge position, that reads a 5.97, in the neck position a 5.72, and in the middle a 2.99. Let's check out the electronics. Okay, so yeah, so these are not DiMarzio pickups. These are actually Goto pickups. So yeah, they are the double cream with the hex in the slugs here. They are the double cream and they look a lot like DiMarzios, but yeah, these are Goto. And all this looks very original. It looks like it's been untouched. And we've got our gold back Goto branded humbuckers. We've got our Japanese components here. So full size potentiometers. We've got a green capacitor there. This is our coil split and a 3-way pickup selector and our output jack. And this all looks untouched. And here's a look at our routes. So it looks like there's an additional route in the middle. So if you wanted to do a single coil in the middle, you could. Or if you want to put it back to like more of a Strat style with 3 single coils, you could do that as well. And the pickup cavities are unshielded. We've got 1 ground wire running. The routes look nice and clean. And then we've got our 6-point trim here, very similar to like a Fender, and but these are really heavy duty, like stainless steel blocks. They feel really high quality. Let's check the trim block in the back. So here's a look at our trim cavity. Looks nice and cleanly routed. We've got 3 springs here, and this is the trim block. Let's just use a magnet to see if this is magnetic or not. And a magnet does stick to it, so it's appears to be decent quality metal. Alright, here's a look at our neck, removed from the body there. Not much to say really, there's no markings on it or anything. No dates, no factory markings. Just plain. And then our neck. And our neck route appears to have some sort of markings on there, but it's so faded over time you can't make anything out. It looks like there was a marker, some sort of factory markings in there, but it's not legible. And it appears to have 1 little shim here in the back as well. Let's check the neck fit. And it's pretty loose. There's not a ton of slop. You could fit it in there pretty nicely. And there's not like a big gap in the side or anything, but it's not the tightest fit I've ever seen. And this is the little plastic shim that was in there. I like to replace these plastic shims with wood. I'm not sure if it makes a difference at all, but you know, wood on wood contact and all that kind of stuff. But so I just got these little sheets of mahogany that I like to use as shims. So I'm just going to put one in there instead because I like the way it was set up. And this is a quick look at the condition of the neck now that it's off the body. So the frets are pretty worn. There's not a lot of like fret wear, like there's not a lot of pitting or marks on the frets, but they are pretty like tarnished and oxidized. They do need some polishing. So once I put this back together, I'm going to go ahead and tape up this fingerboard and give it a buffing just to make it nice and shiny. Here's a look after the buff and polish. So yeah, looking a lot better. A lot of the marks actually did buff out too. There's still like very small indentations there, but overall quite nice. And all that oxidation and tarnish is gone. So yeah, looking good. So now I'm just going to clean, restring, and intonate and set up this guitar, and then we can check setup and overall condition. I managed to find a trem arm that fits this guitar, and I measured the scale length. It's a 25.5 scale and a 9.5 inch radius, and I managed to get quite a nice setup on this guitar. Using my notch straight edge, you can see that there is very little relief in the neck. I adjusted the truss rod and took out some of that relief because there was a little bit too much. So now that there's just a little space between the notch straight edge and the fingerboard, that tells us that the truss rod's set nice and tight. There's very little relief in the neck. And then here at the 3rd fret, you can see when I use the 3rd fret that the string is resting just gently on that 1st fret. So that tells me that the nut is cut well, and we've got nice low action in the cowboy chord area. Action at the low E is between a 1 and a 1.25, and at the high E it's just about a 1, just slightly over a 1. So yeah, very nice low action. So it's a very light guitar, and that can sometimes make it neck divey, but this one is not neck divey at all. It stays right where it should. I'm just going to go over each position on the fingerboard to make sure there's no fretting or buzzing out anywhere. I like to speed up this part, but if you want to hear it in real time, just slow down your player to 25%. So yeah, nice low action with no fretting or buzzing anywhere. And nice and resonant, and it's got a lot of sustain. That note is still decaying, still going. And you can definitely feel it vibrate a lot in your hands. And the neck feels good too. Let's get some neck specs. Width at the nut is a 1.63 inches or a 41.64 millimeters. At the 12th fret, that is a 2.01 inches or a 51.19 millimeters. Neck depth at the 1st fret is a 0.83 inches or a 21.1 millimeters. And at the 12th fret, that is a 0.94 inches or a 23.88 millimeters. And here's a look at the neck profile, just a standard rounded C, and it stays quite rounded by the 12th fret. And it feels just like the measurements would suggest. It's a bit of a narrower neck, but it feels nice and chunky. So it's kind of a more narrow but still nice and rounded C. And there's no fret sprout at all. It feels nice and super smooth. And just a quick look at the condition before we plug it in. So headstock's in good shape. No major, dings or scratches anywhere. These machine heads actually seem really nice. They're nice and tight. Truss rod works well. Nice bone nut. And the frets are in very decent condition. There's like some very minimum wear, but most of it buffed out when I polished these. And it's worn through to the wood, through the lacquer in a few spots. That's pretty par for the course on lacquered maple fingerboards. But overall, this guitar is in very, very clean condition considering, you know, it's 44 years old or so. And the grain on the ash is very nice. I really like this color. I think it really works well with the wine red and the black pickguard and the cream pickups. It's definitely got a vibe. And on the surface, it's kind of a semi-gloss. And there's a few little dings and doinks here and there. But nothing too crazy. Have a quick look at the back. Again, more in the same. If you hold it up into the light, you can see some indentations and some buckle worming and a couple dings. But again, for the age, quite clean. There's our made in Japan neck plate. And the neck is actually in really nice condition. There's no major marks or dings in the neck. It's kept pretty nice. And then we do have a serial number there. It's 530157, and a sticker from the store that it was purchased from at some point. And then a better look at our machine heads. All right, yeah, very decent condition. And I replaced the trem arm. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see how it sounds. I'm plugged into my 1965 Fender Bassman and miking it up with an SM57. I've got an Audio-Technica condenser for the room. And we're just going to go through clean and then with a little bit of dirt. I'm using a Jim Jones GTO overdrive pedal. And yeah, we'll just go through each position clean and then with a little bit of overdrive. Yeah, it sounds very nice, clean. I really like these pickups, and there's no position where it sounds, you know, unusable. Everything's really nice and not too shrill, not muddy. Just very nice, usable tones throughout. Sounds good. Let's try it with a little bit of overdrive. Every opportunity I've gotten to play a Japanese Goya over my years of being a guitar player, I've always been blown away. And yeah, this one is doing the same thing. It's crazy light for a solid ash guitar. I really love the neck. It's got that really nice rounded C. It's a little bit narrow for me, but I still find it very comfortable. The pickups stole the show. They sound amazing. They even sound like really, really nice split, which is something very rare with humbuckers. It's hard to find a set that actually sounds good split, like with nice usable single coil tones. And this one actually did it extremely nicely. So it's very versatile. The humbuckers sound great. In split mode, they sound like really great single coils too. I mean, the guitar plays amazingly, super nice low action, and no fretting or buzzing out anywhere. There's no fret sprout. It's got a really nice bone nut that is well cut. The guitar stays in tune really well. The truss is nice and responsive. The trem worked really well. Actually, it stayed in tune great. All the hardware seems super high quality. The tuners are tight, they don't slip. The tremolo bridge seems really like substantial steel. It's nice and heavy and well made. And I really like the colors, that wine red with the black pickguard and the cream pickups, I think looks awesome. And I guess the only thing I'm not in love with on this guitar would be like the shape of the headstock. but it's not so bad. I mean, it's a little strange, but definitely something I can look past because the rest of the guitar is just fantastic. If you're interested in this guitar, I'm going to have a link in the description for the reverb page. But yeah, if you can find an old Japanese Goya, I think these are incredibly slept on, and they're super underrated and underappreciated guitars, because everyone that I've tried hollow bodies, I've tried basically the Les Paul copies, and this is the first Strat style that I've tried, but everyone that I've tried has been amazing. And yeah, they're basically Greco quality instruments, and you know, I think they're just kind of a slept on Greco, and Greco guitars have gone through the roof in terms of price, and I think if people ever find out about these might be next. But yeah, get one when you can, because they are great. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you for tuning into Beckler Guitars and Repair, and I'll have more for you really soon. Thanks a lot.